What's happening, sports fans? Welcome to the playoffs. I guess the playoffs have been going for a little bit now. I do want to give a quick shout out before we get going any further to the championships that happened this weekend with girls tennis. The team tennis championships all being decided. Canyon Crest retains their open division championship run. We're going to get, though, to football championships on this video. Before we get there, though, let's do a quick word from our sponsors, the U.S. Army. All right, guys, Division 4, welcome back. Thank you again to the U.S. Army for sponsoring all of this. Congratulations to the following teams for receiving buys. Fallbrook specifically for getting that number 1 seed. Montgomery is on with a bye. Coronado is on with a bye, and La Jolla Country Day is through with a bye. So those 4 teams, congratulations on your moving on already to the next round of the Division 4 playoffs. We're not going to talk about them necessarily a ton. This podcast is dedicated to the rest of the field. Bodie DeSilva from Scorebook Live, Tommy Morris are both joining us. Guys, I think that this one to me is interesting because we talked, I think, all along about some of these brackets being really competitive and dynamic. And Fallbrook has had a great year, and them beating Ramona was a signature thing to happen within the recent couple of years. But I look up and down at this and I'm like, I'm vaguely confident that a 7 seed could win this, maybe a 9 seed if they get hot. They're like, this one seems like we got some great games. So let's start with the 8-9. That's Hilltop hosting Francis Parker, big public school hosting small private school. Both pretty decent run games. Assuming this one's going to be on the quicker side, could be high scoring, could be low scoring. I have no idea. That's why I have Bodie and Tommy with me. Tommy, let's start with you.
Yeah, I like Hilltop in this one. I think Parker's coming off getting shut out by Country Day. I think Hilltop is good. Like I think they're kind of in a similar level here. So I think Hilltop wins this one by a couple of scores, but good season for Francis Parker. They're definitely trending in the right direction.
Bodie DeSilva.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Francis Parker here. Chris Williams, their guy, can do a little bit of everything. Also a standout baseball player, but on the football field, passes the ball, huge rushing numbers, a ton of interceptions. Hilltop's going to have to be aware where he is. But as Tommy said, Parker's not coming in the greatest way. Shutout. They've lost their last 2 there in league, but I think this is a chance for them to reset and pick up a big road win in playoffs.
I don't know how quickly you guys can do the math on this one, but I would be curious where Hilltop is if that Mater Dei Catholic game was removed from their schedule and replaced with another Division 3 or 4 opponent that would be more in line with what they would want to schedule. Because this Hilltop feels like they could be a 5 or 6 seed type team, and that they just took statistically one hard L through the middle of that season. Our next game, number 5.
I guess the benefit for them is it's a Division 1 team, so they get the points. They could lose by 100, doesn't matter. So,
Mission Bay, Westview, number 5. Mission Bay plays host to number 12, Westview. Mission Bay, the Division 5 finalists last year that we were talking about, them and Palo Verde Valley are both back. They're both gunning for it. Here we go. Mission Bay's got a 5. They look like they're in somewhat decent shape, actually, assuming that they get through this first round. Bodie DeSilva from Scorebook Live, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think there's certainly been some talk about Westview making into the playoffs with the 1-9 season. My response to that would be they played a great schedule, and I know they made it just above Kearney if you compared the 2 schedules were night and day there. So I am happy to see Westview get in because they took their lumps in league play going up against Poway, an open division team, and close losses at the end of the year to Mount Carmel and Del Norte. So I definitely give Westview a chance here. I'm going to go with Mission Bay. They won that D5, or excuse me, they were runners up in that D5 title last year. They move up a division. I think they have enough guys on that roster to kind of know what it means come playoff time, but I expect Westview to give them a really tough game. And just because they have that 1 win, you can throw that out now coming into these playoffs.
Tommy Morris, your thoughts?
I'm going to go with an upset here. I like Westview in this game. Like Bodie said, tough schedule. The only thing that deters me a little bit is they both played San Diego High. Mission Bay smoked them, and then Westview lost San Diego High. So that makes me a little worried, but that was also the first game of the season. So I do like Westview. There is something about having to play all these big open division teams that you're saying, like Poway and the Rancho Bernardos, that kind of stuff, and then coming in to get to play in a smaller bracket, it gives you a lot of confidence. just going into it. So I think Westview sneaks an upset here.
Westview could also reek of like, they just don't care. They've lost enough this
Yeah.
season that they're like, hey, we're just playing with house money, man. Let's go sling the rock around. Let's see what happens. Chula Vista, they're going to travel. The number 11 seed Chula Vista is going to travel to take on Calexico. Pretty solid year for the inland teams in terms of seeding between Brawley and Central, Calexico, Imperial. It's going to be a decent run through this first round of the playoffs. And Chula Vista, second half resurgence. They seem like they are playing their better, if not best, football of the year, the second half, and seems like maybe that's where they need to be to get a road win. Bodie De Silva from Scorebook Live, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Calexico here. I think the way they've been tested in their league, they went up against Central and Brawley, two teams we just mentioned there. They did lose both of them, but they were able to get some points on the board. I think that'll help them going into this one. And for Chula Vista, it's not the furthest trip. It's not like they're asking Oceanside to go out there. They save a few miles, but I still think there's an advantage for those teams that are hosting someone when they have to come out east to the desert a couple hours. So I'm going to go Calexico at home, and they'll set themselves up with a matchup against Coronado in the next round.
Tommy, do we have another disagreement, or is this going to be your first time siding with Bodie in this bracket?
I think I'll agree here. I mean, it's tough with some of these teams that are further away because we get to watch them very often. Calexico is a team we haven't seen really in the playoffs that much recently, but they had a good year this year. Some blowout wins, and then like Bodie said, towards the end of the season when they got in the league, they had to challenge themselves. So I like Calexico here, and I'm going to pick them to advance.
All right, on to our last game of the division. I've lost the brackets. Where did the brackets go? Too many windows open as I'm looking across stats. Our final game, number 10, Mount Miguel is traveling to take on number 7, Palo Verde Valley. I was looking at the Palo Verde Valley stats because this team came somewhat out of obscurity last year to win the Division 5 championship. And we all sort of ended up looking back and going, oh, wow, 3,000 plus yards rushing as a team, pretty great defense. That was pretty good. And guess what? They sustained it again this year in terms of their offensive production. It has been right back at that same level. Marcus Macon, Xavier Bejarano having great years. They're moving the ball, man. And at a 7 seed, they got a home game. It seems like this could be a pretty good run between Mount Miguel and then potentially Country Day. They seem kind of set up to me. Tommy Morris, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, we got to also look at Mount Miguel's side of the things. They've got pretty good running back themselves. I'm all over the place here. Sorry, guys. I like Mount Miguel in this game. I think this one smells like an upset also. I think in this division, we're going to have a lot of craziness in this bracket. So I like Mount Miguel here, and that'll just kind of throw, gasoline on the fire, I think, in Division 4.
Tommy's a bit of a madman, it would seem today. Bodie De Silva from Scorebook Live, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go Palo Verde here. You've talked about the rushing attack. 2 of those 3 are back this year, putting up huge numbers once again. But there's definitely contrasting styles, the way Mount Miguel and Troy Starr, the former Helix coach, now there, and the way that they've been willing to throw the ball, and Jeremiah Castillo, their receiver, has put up some huge numbers, over 1,100 receiving yards. So I think the way Palo Verde will be able to run the ball, control the clock, I like them to win this game.
There is our thoughts on it. For more, make sure you download the SB Live Sports app, because that's where you got to get all these brackets. All the scores, results will be there. Great photography, great stories from Bodie. Guys, appreciate it. If you want to check out other divisions, we've got all of them, open division through 5 on our show. Thank you very much, guys. Let's move on to Division 3.